Hi guys, welcome to the OCD Recovery channel. Again, today we have someone new with us. Alexander, you may have seen some of his videos. Alexander is from Ukraine. And yeah, we just thought it would be great to have another person on call and to just, have a chat and learn more from each other. Because honestly, I even don't know a lot of things about Nick still. And Nick just discovered in our last call that I have siblings. He didn't know that I have siblings. Um, okay, Nick. So, just while you're recording, just make sure that you're on the screen where all three of our videos are appearing.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Hold on.
because otherwise, I think it changes.
There we go.
Okay, perfect. All right. So I think we will begin with Alexander. He was just telling us before starting this call about when he was 19 and he was in the army and he was suffering from OCD but didn't know he had OCD. So Alexander, please start with that because I think that's a very interesting point to start with. Tell us what you were experiencing when you enrolled and how did it affect your experience and did it make you leave the army early?
So yeah, I was talking that when I was in the army, I was 19 and it was pretty stressful time. So after 6 months of serving there, I started noticing that I can't, I felt like I can fully to do a breath, take a breath. And I was started worrying a lot. I was constantly going to the army's hospital because I was thinking that I can even have lungs cancer, but they were talking that, boy, you're okay, go and serve. They were thinking that I just don't want to do my service. But I was deadly afraid about it, and I was thinking, okay, when I'll finish the service, it was like 1 year. I'll go to the professional doctors and they will tell you what is wrong with me. But when I finished it, a lot of happens, life events happened, and I just forgot about it. And I was thinking, okay, maybe I had some problem with my breathing path, but it just went away and everything is okay as me. I had no idea that it could be some mental disorder or something like
Had
that.
had you heard about OCD by that point?
No,
did you know the
never.
name? Okay.
No, even when I watched Aviator 5 years ago, I was thinking oh, that's unfortunate that such talented person just went crazy. I was thinking like that, you know. And, by the way, I was interested in psychology before, but I've never heard about OCD.
That's really interesting. And Nick, actually, even you don't know this. I had a brief period, a very brief, but it did happen with sensory motor OCD, where I was worried about not having deep breaths. So I would constantly try to breathe deep, and and it would not satisfy me. I thought I need that feeling when you breathe so deep. I thought I need that feeling, and I was constantly trying to do it. And the more I tried to do it, the more it didn't happen. Even when yawning, I would be like, I want to have that full yawn that goes in your head. I want that satisfaction, but it's not happening. So why am I not being able to do this? I'm not getting. I was constantly chasing that. So, and I don't know how it's
sensory unique. I think that unless you suffered with sensory motor, as severely as I did, where it was like 24/7 saliva and swallowing. I think a lot of people, like my neighbor who I was just talking about before the call, like I've had this globus sensation for 10 years, or people who have been, I have another friend of mine who basically is very hyper aware for heartbeat. Like she all the time, I think so many people don't even realize it. Well, as the three of us know, come on, what does the average person know about OCD? Washing their hands,
washing, cleaning,
flicking light switches, 30 times. Like, you know, and it's funny. That's why I try and tell people when I'm in a webinar or coaching call, you know, and people, because certain people are just really resentful against their family and really resentful against the people they're working with. And I always say this, if you did not have OCD, you would not know about OCD. You would know. You know, and it's really interesting. You know, and to talk about a story with me that a lot of people don't know, before I even knew, I just, same thing like Alexander, I thought I was just weird. Like I was like, I thought I just had these like quirks.
I was just like, this is my personality. I mean, maybe this is just how I function.
So
this is Momin.
I had a magical thinking for, oh my gosh, almost 15 years, where
that was my biggest struggle.
Like a bottle of lotion, like a cocoa butter. Excuse me. I basically was going through a bottle of that a week. I would apply lotion to my body about 20 times a day, before the gym, after the gym, before school, on school breaks. And I was doing it because I was afraid of not feeling a certain way. Had no idea. No clue.
Yeah. Wait, so Alexander, when you were training in the army and you were experiencing these fears, like, could you tell me about where your mind would be while you were doing those training activities? Like, would you, while with other people doing some group activity, let's say, in your mind, were you worried about that, or were you able to be present over there?
I must be present wherever we must do. And I remember that I was constantly thinking that, oh my God, if I didn't have this breathing sensation, I would enjoy the rest when other soldiers were doing it like others. And I was thinking, because I like running a lot, and when we had to exercise in the morning, a lot of soldiers didn't like to do it. They just tried to escape it. But I remember that I was running, and I could do it perfectly. And I was thinking, what the matter? I'm running and I'm breathing okay. But when we are just standing, I was thinking this, okay, this sensation, I can like to feel my body fully with the air. And it's interesting, but you know, I had no idea that it could be, I was certain that I might have some health problems, and that's it. No idea that I just, but again, it was.
I can relate that in the sense that, so, I mean, we don't have a mandatory army training or anything, but so for me, I would have that kind of thing so I did a lot of stage drama and theater in school. And so I would always, because otherwise I would constantly be anxious, like always worried about my fears, my compulsions, my contamination, and all those things. But somehow, whenever I used to be on stage, whenever I was on stage, whenever I was performing, everything went away. Like, even if I had to touch the floor, even if I had to roll around on the floor, I didn't even think about, oh, I'm feeling contaminated or anything, because I read this somewhere and it made so much sense to me that when you have to do activities like that, your brain is almost forced to be present, which is the opposite of anxiety, because with anxiety, you are either in the past or the future. You're not in the present.
Yeah.
So doing activities like that just really immerses you in that moment. And that's why, like, even with Rob was talking about the other day, where he has a lot of policemen who come to him for sessions, and like when they are, if they escape a bullet or something, that's something that doesn't make them anxious or scare them necessarily. But when they're back home, they're worried about relationship worries, or they have ROCD. So it's such a strange dynamic with our fears and how we are able to still exercise being present. But when we are suffering, we forget those moments where we are able to function and perform and succeed, we only focus on, oh my God, this is so terrible. Everything is terrible. And it, I think, overshadows a single thing.
Actually, my experience with sensory motor, just one sentence. I was angry at Nick when I started following OCD recovery because I was deadly struggling with POCD and false memory. And then I watched his video about sensory motor OCD, and like 24/7, I can't stop thinking about my blinking. It was continuing like 2 weeks. Then again, breathing, OCD. And then I remember this experience about the army. And I remember Kirsty's video about all fears are under one umbrella. So I was thinking, okay, I have POCD, then it's sensory motor. Okay, I will be dealing with that. But it's interesting when like sensory motor latch, I forget about my false memory and POCD.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I didn't dispute, I wasn't disputing my sensory motor fear, fear to be uncomfortable. But in 1 or 2 months, it just passes. I was like leaving it there and watching video. I was educating myself about all of this. And then just because core fears that was fueling POCD, like sensory motor started being in the background, and POCD just came back again. So that's my experience with sensory motor.
A lot of people I talk to on coaching calls or webinars, think about this. Do you have any idea how many people probably avoid watching my videos strictly because I talk about sensory motor? I had enough. This is how prevalent OCD is. I had another friend. I was at their house 3 weeks ago. Sad story. She's in her 40s. You know, she had the light bulb moment. She had the light bulb moment like a year ago. She went from, her husband was like, I did not know what was going on. She developed really super severe incest POCD towards her children in her 40s. So we were, this is exactly how she did it because she didn't understand. I started talking about my journey. She went, no, don't talk about that sensation. Don't talk about that. And I was like, no. I said, if you don't talk about it, that's going to be a new theme for you. You have, because like, that's the one thing, like think about, right? Like last month I did almost 50 one-to-one coaching calls. And I'm seeing so many different types of how POCD latches in odd ways. How we were talking about Momin with some of the people in the group with contamination OCD that think, well, I'm not like afraid of dying, but you're afraid of the way it makes you feel contaminated, which is almost like a sensory motor. You know, it's like a fear. You know, you just feel dirty. Oh, what if I feel like this forever? What if I'm uncomfortable forever? And you start to realize just how many people have like subclinical or clinical OCD. I mean, it's everywhere.
And there's so many like variations of it that, I mean, you cannot even start to list them down. So, I mean, I was thinking about this the other day as well. It can easily be like two themes or two kinds of feelings or fears can overlap in some very strange way. So, for example, if someone has harm OCD, if they touch a knife, they might want to wash their hands so that they can get rid of that, like, you know, the touch of the knife from their hand, and they would feel contaminated by the touch of the knife, and therefore they would not open that drawer. They would feel that drawer is also contaminated with the presence of the knife or anything harmful. So these are like, I mean, and this is something that this is how my contamination OCD was. I'm not afraid of germs or like, you know, bathroom stuff or any of those things. That's something that does not scare me or disgust me in that sense. I am afraid of my contamination was through association. So if I don't like a person, I will not meet them. I will not go to their house. if their presence would make me feel, their presence would be contamination for me. If they sit on my bed, I would be like, I need to change the sheets because I can't sleep in this bed because I'll be
What did that
contaminated.
feel like to you, Momin? So like when you say like I felt contaminated, what did that like physically feel like to you?
Oh, I mean, like, and I don't know how to. I've never been able to really put it in words. It just felt like something was slowly crawling under my skin, and it was taking over my body, and it was and my body started to feel heavy, anxious, heavy. It felt like head to toe I started to vibrate quite a lot with those anxiety sensations. It felt like something was under my skin, and it was almost I mean, not necessarily uh, like some spirits taking over, but it didn't feel like something physical was taking over. It felt like just this, I don't know, something from some kind of presence. I don't know how to explain it. It was just
You
something
almost feel like you were being
mysterious,
like constricted,
taken over, restricted, taken over, and my body would freeze. My body would just be frozen, and I would be afraid to just even move because I don't know. It was so much fear that I thought even moving would give it space to take over me. It's the
So
strangest thing ever. I don't know. I
you know
really
what's super interesting too about OCD that all of us can relate to? I think this is probably the hardest thing for me to explain to someone when I'm working with them. Take a behavior like pornography that do I think that people can balance it? I do. I've completely changed my mind. I think that people can balance it. But let's say you have OCD and pornography produces such a high dopamine reaction that it almost always becomes a compulsion just because it's so distracting in the moment. So like I'm currently working with about 5 different people that they didn't even realize, because I would say this to them, hey, do you use stuff like that? And this could be social media too, right? Scrolling TikTok,
absolutely.
anything.
I mean, when you're suffering that much, anything that gives you that kind of escape, anything that gives you some kind of instant like feeling of happiness or joy or adrenaline, the good kind of adrenaline, not the OCD kind of you go after that. You really want that to happen.
It's and I tell, like, I remember one guy I was working with, working now for about 6 months. I said to him, I really think you should cut this out because I think it's directly related to your OCD. And he said to me, I just never thought about it like that. So 2-3 weeks in, that person's like messaging me like, oh my gosh, my OCD is so bad. I said, yeah, because you cut out a major compulsive behavior that you didn't even realize was linked to your OCD. And I remember, what's really funny? I don't know about you guys. I never really think about it. I'm very lucky that you guys know me. You see my videos. I've never in my life been like, oh, if I could just go back. I don't think those words have ever, I live my life like, this is what I have to deal with now. How do I adapt and deal? But it's so interesting. So this is literally what happened to me. I was driving, so crazy. Driving, and my brain went, I wonder what are some things that you just do without thinking about. And I went, hand on the steering wheel. I went, that's weird. Foot on the gas pedal. And I was like, that's weird. And then I went, what about blinking? And dude, it was like a cloud took over me. And Erica, I remember Erica, she kind of was like, because I must have been like, and it just, I don't even know how to explain it. It was like a light switch turned on and my whole life changed in that second. And the best is when we got back, Erica loves this story. I'm in the parking lot like this, like on the ground. And she's like, what are you doing? And imagine hearing this, right? I said, I can't stop thinking about my blinking. I can't stop thinking about my blinking. And I remember I went to sleep that night and I went, it will be gone in the morning. And then when I woke up in the morning and it was the first thing I noticed, I freaked out.
Did you have any like prominent or at least the ones you were aware of experiences with chronic anxiety before that?
Dude, I had a lot of OCD tendencies, but I had
No, but were you aware of them? Because, for example, if
no.
Erica saw you doing that, and if she knew, for example, if she had the knowledge that you had past like history with anxiety, she might not have found it suddenly so absurd.
Nothing. I was the like look at I was the the life of the party, always talking to people, no social anxiety at all. And so to me that was really scary because I had no history of anxiety. But I had, like I said, I had a lot of OCD tendencies, but they never were anxiety producing. Like rubbing the lotion on, I never thought this. Ooh, I'm so anxious. Like it was just like a weird thing I did. You know what I mean? Like it was just, it was so, I don't even know how to.
Because you do it so normally that you don't even think about it.
I mean, look at my dad. Look at my father. Okay, the spending compulsions. I don't know if you guys have heard this story.
I think you mentioned that.
He bought a boat. He bought a boat and he never picked it up. Can you imagine spending tens of thousands of dollars on a boat and then never going to get it? So when he died and I got to talk to his brother, my uncle, and I was like, Uncle John, what was he like as a kid? And my uncle was like, weird. Like he was like weird compulsive behaviors, would disappear for like out of the family for like 2 years, no contact, like would just very and the eating compulsion. My dad was and I kind of struggle with that, like severe compulsive eater as a, as just like a same thing, like you said, moment, dopamine releasing in the moment. And my mom used to say she would buy these 12 packs of donuts and she'd buy them on a Friday night, wake up Saturday, and there would be 2 left. And my mom would go, where's the donuts? And my dad would say, I didn't do it. Like, so he had, my mom's like, there's 2 people in the home. 2. So it was odd.
No, I mean, and it manifests in so many different ways. We can't even like, again, we don't even notice them because we're like, oh, this is just a personality thing.
Yeah.
Alexander, I mean, so obviously right now, I really want you to explain also the situation in your country right now, because I feel like there are a lot of things that maybe like in the media, when you keep seeing things over and over again, you have a slightly different picture. And when you're experiencing it every day, it's a different experience. So, like, what is it like when you go out of the house? Is this something that concerns you, or are you still being able to live in some ways normally?
It's my city is near to like Romanian and Poland border, so it's like it's luckily never been bombarded. And like if you don't know, if you know nothing about the war and live here for a day, and you never, and on this day you don't hear this air alarm, you probably won't notice anything that it's like the war in this country. But it's hard to explain. But when I was really interested in history during all my life, and I was reading about all these wars, especially I'm interested in World War II. And I remember talking with friends, and they were thinking back then that we are living in the like in the time that there can be any war, any atrocities, and stuff like that. And I was saying that, guys, you know, like 80 years ago, it was like World War II, and it was like 20th century. We know people that were living in that time already. So everything can happen. And when the war started, they were shocked. I wasn't it was hard to embrace, but you know, I was watching for like I was you know, following for this political situation, and I knew that something can happen, but I don't I wasn't thinking that like it will be actual war, like the biggest in Europe since World War II. And it's very hard to get used to the news when every day you know that not only soldiers are dying, but every day civilians are dying because of shelling. And it's I try to, in this situation, I try to develop my life acceptance and other acceptance, and other acceptance was much harder for me than life acceptance, because as we understand the Russian language, we can hear everything they are talking in the news and what this brainwashing propaganda says. And it was really hard. And also we can watch all videos that they are doing like in Ukraine, they're making in Ukraine. But then I started to think about what would I be, what the person would I be if I live in Russia. And also because earlier I was thinking about this phenomena about Germany, when like almost whole country became Nazis. And I started thinking, what would I was back there that if I was like 18-year-old guy, and would I resist to this propaganda? And of course, it's big tragedy. And I literally hate those acts that Russian army is doing here, because like it's really horrible for people that are living in those cities. It's really horrible when they can have clean water, food, and like just things that are needed for basic life. But again, I try to divide those acts, and I try to accept those people as fallible persons that are just under the influence of that propaganda. And there are people that are 19, 20 years old. And Putin is like 22 years like in the government, he's president. So, you know, it's constant propaganda that these people are just growing up in this area. So I can understand what pushes them to do that. And my father already 2 months was mobilized, like 2 months he is serving in national armed forces, and he is like 15 kilometers from the Russian border. But now it isn't front line. So sometimes they just hear shelling in the night. And it's also good for perspective. So I'm asking him, like, so what is happening there? And he's some shelling. Yeah, I can hear it. So there is like a really big chance that they can be like shelled. Can I say it like that?
Okay, so we're back. Actually, so I mean, Alexander, what you just described is just reminds me of back in 2007, 2008. The situation in Pakistan was just not that great, because there were at least 2 or 3 bomb blasts every week around the country, even in my city. They were just, I mean, it would be in any city, anywhere. It was completely unexpected. I was so I was in school this one time, and so that school was around 10 minutes away from my house. And I was in school and I heard the bomb blast that happened near my house, like 10 minutes, a 10-minute drive away. It was so loud. Like, and it wasn't, I didn't just hear it. The windows and the doors like banged because of like the sonic boom. Um, and we were like, wait, what just happened? And then, and so basically they were, during that entire time, 2 of those bomb blasts shattered all the windows of our house. So when I came home, basically there was glass everywhere because one of our windows, in fact, the metal frame of the window was hanging out of the wall because the sonic boom was so strong from that bomb blast. And
And
it, it's strange because when like obviously when relatives who were living in America or in England that we have, when they used to ask us that, oh my God, are you able to go out of the house? And what's the situation? Is everything okay? Are you able to go out on the streets? And we were like, yeah, we go out. Like we're still going to dinners. We're still going to watch movies. Um,
yeah,
I still go to school every day. This one time I was in grade 8, and I was, what, 13 years old at the time. We had to evacuate the entire school, and all the students of the school were sitting in this big ground, big patch of lawn, of grass nearby. And why? Because the school got an anonymous call that they've hidden a bomb in the school and they're going to blow it up like any minute. So they evacuated the school immediately, and we were just sitting there. And like, I don't know, I feel like events like that when you're young, especially, they can
hmm
go 2 ways. Either you can grow up becoming extremely terrified of just life, and then you have to obviously work on those fears and come to a place of more like stability. Or like it happened to me and many others I know, we all got very used to, we were so accustomed and used to these kinds of adversities.
yeah,
And it's something that you really dislike. It's something that you do hate, and it does concern you, and it stresses you out. And you even try to do whatever you can on a more, like, let's say, political level, or if you want to raise your voice or raise money for people who are affected, all those things, you do all those things. So that's the practical side of things that you participate in. But obviously emotionally you are still affected by it, like such an environment. Even these days, by the way, our economy is completely going downhill. Prices are like higher than ever. Our currency is just the lowest it has ever been.
Let's see if he froze. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, he freeze for you, Alexander? Yeah. We'll see.
The level of
So
acceptance, like you say, so there's other acceptance with people you think are responsible for all these things.
mhm.
You don't, it's not something that chronically makes me anxious or fearful all day long, or something, but I'm still able to maintain a level of living my own life, having a practical approach to dealing with these problems that you are faced with because of your circumstances or the way you live. And the third thing, then, also learning to, obviously you dislike those people and it sometimes gets to you in your head, but also learning to take that step back so that you're able to balance both the emotional and the, you know, practical, pragmatic side of things.
Yeah, I think that's in that moment. I think you made a really good point. And because I've now read probably 6 Ellis books. way more than that are on the reading list, because I really find him fascinating. The channel, Alexander will be able to pronounce this channel for me because I can't say it. How do you say it?
It's German. It's
Etzlinganger?
I'm Zellinger.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm like 45 videos into that channel. I love it. Like, I love that channel.
Yeah.
And, you know, I try to kind of not create scenarios, but apply them in situations that might be really difficult. Like, I remember if I'm like sitting on a field, I'll think to myself, if someone were to take the life of my wife, would I be able to accept that person in time? Like, would I be able to, obviously highly dislike the act, but would I be able to accept that person? And I think that when you're stuck with OCD in the beginning, your only goal is to just feel better. I get that. Like, that's your only goal. Once you start to get better, I think what the philosophies of Stoicism, or whether you use Epicureanism, whatever the philosophy you're using, how it benefits so many other aspects of your life. Like, I used to be so strict about my life schedule. So strict. If anything was like spontaneous, I would get anxiety. And then I realized,
That's like my dad.
I just realized that it was another, this is why on that channel, Alexander, this is such a good analogy. I was talking about this with Rob. He goes, when people try to create businesses, they basically walk into a river, and they're in the river, and they try to go like this and stop the water. It's like, you can't do that. Like, you can have systems and procedures, but your business is going to grow organically and things are going to go wrong. And that's kind of just how the OCD journey is, because as the three of us know, I've never met one person with chronic OCD who's only had one theme. I've not met that person.
Same.
I just haven't. You know, it's just like, whether it, you know, I mean, and then you have people like Rob, or, you know, who had every theme in the book except for ROCD, because no one will love him. I always joke about that all the time. But like, I don't even know what it's like. Like, Alexander, I don't know what it like feels like, or Momin, to have like real event false memory contamination. But I know exactly what it's like to like be tortured by your sensations, like in a conversation with someone, right? Momin, and you're like, you say to me, oh, you know, Nick, how's your day? And I'm thinking, oh, my day was great. Saliva. It's like, you know, so it's and I think we are spreading a lot of awareness. So Erica, as you both have probably seen, Erica has been, she can do what she wants. I told her I'm completely okay with it. She has been sharing her blog with a guy who hikes. So people from chiropractor school and my high school, one of my buddies from high school has been following a guy who hikes since the very beginning. So he messages me and makes jokes to me. And I said to him, his name's Brett. I said, Brett, why are you following this page? Like, this has nothing to do with you. You know what he said to me? He's like, it's really interesting, actually, because those philosophies are not just for OCD. They're just for everything in life. Like, Alexander's situation is a great example. And I use Alexander when I have one-to-one calls. I say, have you watched Alexander's videos? And they say either yes or no. And I say to them, if you watch Alexander's videos and you listen to him talk about unconditional self and life and other acceptance, it goes to show you what you can do in situations like that. Which is incredible. You know, and I think that's really, Alexander, let me ask you a question.
Yep.
How important, in your opinion, was unconditional self-acceptance for your journey so far?
It was crucial for me, as I told. I was after my ROCD, when it chronically lashed, I did my main compulsion. I just broke up with my girlfriend, And I was thinking that I'll just, as you said, I'll just wake up and everything will be gone. No, I woke up and I was freaked out, such intense anxiety that I was thinking that I'll go crazy because of it. And then 1 month of schizophrenia OCD, and then OCD, because I started Googling about OCD. I became familiar with this topic, and I noticed one psychologist was talking about fear of being a pedophile, and I thought to myself, that's horrible, that's horrible. And then going to the back, I remember I started analyzing if everything in my past was appropriate and if I never crossed the border. And 3 days I was going, analyzing, reassuring myself that I am a good person. I just want to like to do everything correctly and right. And then just like that, I remember that in one moment, just false memory, and it felt like the realest thing in the world. I started to started persuading myself that no, it couldn't happen. I was living all these years, and I remember that I wasn't worrying about this, and more and more some details started popping up, and it was horrible. And yeah, it was the point when I was thinking that, okay, I can't, if I am that kind of the person, I have no right to live. I have no, I don't know, I should be punished immediately, and I have to do it myself because I am the monster. So after I became familiar with our thoughts and just not doing compulsions and go with my thoughts, I was thinking that my brain will heal itself, it will heal itself. But I didn't realize that without, if I am so scared to be that kind of the person, if I don't accept myself at all, my brain can just like to calm down and start healing itself. So when I found OCD recovery, I first of all, I just like I think 2 months I was just watching all videos. I started educating myself, a lot of insights, but I was thinking that just grasping these insights will lead me to recovery. But then Rob did a really good video about importance of reading a book and changing perspective by disputing. I started reading. It was not easy for me because not all books are translated, so I had to read it in English, but it helped me. I improved my English, and when I started realizing that I am just a person who does some acts, but never like completely the person, like labeled person, like completely good, completely bad, completely monster, and stuff like that. So this realization came to me not just in one moment. It's like gradual process. And after 6 months of disputing, I did a good progress, but I still was afraid disputing that what if I am this kind of the person? And what if that really happened? And then I had 2 sessions with Rob, after which he recommended me watching some documentaries and to make some summary what I'm thinking about it. And it was like one of the game-changing moments for me, because first of all, I did my biggest exposures. I was freaked out watching this such kind of documentaries, and he pointed some I don't know from different angles why, even if I was such a type of a person, I still can't. I can't strongly dislike my that I had such
part of you.
Yeah,
Mm.
but even then, I can accept myself. And
And
after,
because ultimately it's also about that you exist as a human being, and I feel like,
yeah,
and in that sense that like every human being, just because they exist and are living, they have that opportunity, chance, possibility to change and learn from their own selves. And it's strange for OCD because when you're so chronically stuck and scared all the time, I mean, you're forced to think about, talk about, kind of break down things that you are so afraid of.
yeah,
And it's almost like you have to let go of control to have control. And a small example for that is like when I had mental compulsions, I was constantly trying to think of other things, constantly not trying to think about my fears or things that I didn't. Like I was distracting 24/7.
yeah,
I was doing this cycle. But there were moments when I would be so tired and exhausted from my own brain for doing that I would just sit still for 10-15 minutes, stop exerting control over my brain, and I would let the thoughts go by. I did not like those thoughts, but the amount of relief I felt for not controlling it, I was like, I don't care what images come into my head, let them come. I just don't want to control right now. Um, and somehow that kind of exercise and that kind of practice of letting go of control in a strange way makes you brings slowly, very slowly, it brings about some kind of control over your life. A good balance of control.
Yeah, it's like a
And
it's like a it's like a
yeah, go
control.
ahead.
It's like a control that's not. It's a control, but it's a control where you're not like, I need this control, right?
And
yeah,
You're just,
exactly, and you're not like aware of, okay, I am controlling this. It's kind of like just you feel more. Again, I think the best word is you feel more present, because when you feel more present, you are able to let things go by.
and I think
um
one real quick moment, you just said
mm,
something that I think for myself is one of the problems I see with that we all do. There is a global misconception, in my opinion, on what it means to be present. People are like, oh, being present means I'm looking at Alexander and there's absolutely no distractions. That's not
yes,
what being
yes,
present
that's not
means.
what being present is.
Being present is like Alexander and I are talking. Maybe I have to go to the bathroom. Maybe a thought's coming into my mind about business.
yeah,
Maybe, but it's also because, and that's the one thing I think it with social media and YouTube, like being present has
Mm,
been brought to be, you know, being present is part of meditating. But yes,
mm,
it's not like I'm looking at Alexander and nothing else is in my
is going on in my mind, yeah.
no, that's not what it means. And I think that because we hear it, right? I see it all the time in the groups. People say, I just want to be present. I just want to be present. And
Do you know, like throughout whatever 40-50 minutes we've been talking, do you know, like while talking to you guys, even while having this dialogue, do you know what I'm simultaneously also thinking? I hope the electricity doesn't go, because like generally there's an electricity problem these days in our country, and it goes for like an hour or so and then it comes back. So I'm thinking, oh, I want the lighting for this video. I also have chocolate cake with me on the side, and I don't want it because it'll if I don't eat it, it'll get dry. So I want to have chocolate cake as well.
yeah,
I mean, there's so many like things that are going through, and after this call is done, I have to get ready and go watch a movie. So there's so many things that are simultaneously happening in my brain, but that doesn't mean I'm not present in this conversation. I'm still engaging with you guys, because the brain is way too complex for us to think that we have to do this or we have to control or we it has to be this one thing in one moment. It's so many, like a million things in one moment, and
yeah,
that's
you
something
can't
we cannot control.
quantify it. You can't quantify it. It's
You
like,
cannot, you cannot.
let's look at a really tough example. And I think it's probably a good way to end it and bring it back to Alexander.
Mm,
Let's take a Russian soldier who's 20. and he comes to Ukraine and he does some really bad things. And what Alexander said is so important. I've been saying this for a while. Conditional self-acceptance is conditional self-life and other acceptance is easy. To just look at people in conditions is very easy. It's safe. You don't have to think about it. But let's say that 20-year-old soldier was severely beaten by his father for years. He just was beaten, right? With whatever it was. Then he was verbally abused by his siblings, and he was just angry at the world. He never learned this. He never learned what we learned. He gets propaganda for years and years and years and years, and he warps his perceptions. He comes to Ukraine and takes it out on other people. But that conditioning has been going on with that person for 20 years. It's just not as...
He doesn't even realize it.
He doesn't realize it.
Like my dad is a homeopathic doctor, and he sees this because he has to like look at the patient's personal history as well, not just their health history. So when he has told me so many stories about like these young guys, maybe in their early 20s or late teens perhaps, who come to him and they're just very aggressive, angry people, and even in the way they talk, and they don't even realize it. They just say, "Oh, I get angry very quickly," or I get aggressive very quickly, or something like that. And so when it's not even the first thing that occurs to them, which you in a sense, I mean, you maybe it should be the first thing or the second thing you think of, but maybe on the 10th question they would be like, oh yeah, my dad was really hard on me when I was growing up. He always used to like criticize me, blah blah blah. And it has become such an inherent part of him, like that kind of growing up in that kind of environment, constantly being criticized or having a really bad environment around him, whatever kind it was. It has become so ingrained that he doesn't even realize that he is replicating that behavior when he's growing up.
Yeah,
and
saying
that's a
I'm an
good lesson in
person,
other acceptance.
like when people say the words, like they don't think it means a lot, but when you constantly...
Absolutely not.
When you say this, right, when you say I'm an angry person over and over and over again, you identify so much with that.
You become that person. Yeah,
you're like, we talked about, like Alexander, if you watched our last talk, we talked about the problem with identity, anything, and I was having this conversation with my wife the other day about habits. There's a great book called Atomic Habits, and he was saying in order to change your habits, you want to identify with the person. You want to be like, I am a runner. The reason why I don't think that that's good is because it's not true. You're not a runner. You're just a person who runs. Like, and what happens is with sports, I mean, look at it. When you tell yourself over and over again, you're a runner, and then you lose your legs, you lost your identity because you're no longer that person. And I think that's something that really affected me in so many different characteristics. But I wanted to say, Alexander, to close it off, if you could give one piece of advice to someone who's brand new in the OCD journey, what would that be?
First of all, I would like to
say drink, party, everything will be okay.
First of all, I would like to say that if you can afford professional help, please do it, because it's much easier to see or this irrational belief system that we are holding when somebody who really understands this disorder helps you. But you have to make sure that this person are really understand this disorder, and OCD recovery is a great channel to educate, first of all, yourself, because then you will be able to see that this person can help you and really understand disorder. And I was thinking that you you have to learn not to rush recovery, because I understand you so good that feeling as you feel when you are at the lowest point, it's like it seems that you must feel better because you can't stand it anymore, and you must do something that will make you feel better. But unfortunately, here is the thing that it's you need time, patience, and persistence while working on your OCD. And there is no guarantee that you will have relief like in a few months, but you can feel better. And with this, when you notice that, yeah, you are in the right direction, you can completely work on it. But why it's irrational to demand that you have to feel better after 1 month? I was thinking about such example like imagine if you are a native speaker and the word, for example, the word awesome, there is no rule, and you have there is a new rule, and you have to write it with no W, but instead of W you have to put V. And imagine how long you will be writing this word like in the way you learn during your life with W, and after some period you still be writing it with W, and then you might be acting like, oh my god, I forgot again, stupid rule, and correct it with V. It's one word, and it's like that you learn it in school, and you use this rule during full life. But imagine about your belief system, that it's like
it's a good point.
It's like it's like the way you are looking on things. It's so intertwined and so I don't know. It's so strong. It's like fundamental. It's like fundament. I don't know how to say it in English. Of your perspective. It's like the fundamental thing of your perspective.
Yeah, it is a fundamental foundation.
Yeah, if it can be changed, like even in few months, you can feel better. Even in 1 year, it's so little a period of time. You are forming your perspective on life during like 30 years, 25, wherever you are like.
You?
Yeah.
Your age.
There we go.
I guess he doesn't like it.
Yeah, no, it's right there. And I think it's a good place to end it, because I have to run. I have another meeting here soon. But Alexander, it was a pleasure talking to you. I think these are a lot of fun. You too, Momin. These are good because we get to know each other better. We get to know each other better.
Yes.
We
don't get to talk in one video just to the camera. Like we get to talk to each other for once.
This is what we got to do. This would be a good one. Imagine this one. The three of us. The three of us. Rob. We got to get Rob on here too. The four of us would be so funny with Rob. And then like we're gonna get Jade on here. I'm excited to get Jade on because Jade has like a Mother Teresa vibe to her.
I aspire to be like her.
It's a source, Jade's video. It's a source of the advices. I appreciate it really.
Oh yeah, Jade's great.
Seriously.
That's why I watch all the videos, because they all help each other. But look, I gotta run, guys. It was a pleasure, dude. A lot of fun, and we'll talk soon. Alexander, thank you so much, man.
Thank you so much. This was really great.
So much,
and see you guys
I
on
really
the channel
enjoyed it.